Come on, YouTube. Let's go. Let's get this going. Let's get this going. Gonna finish this. There it is. Okay. No one's here though yet. Oh, now people are. Jeez, please. Okay. Cool. I think I'm just gonna start because I need to get this done. There you are. Yeah, I see you now. I need to get this done, so I think we're just gonna jump right in and go. There we are. Hello, everybody. Hello. Gonna start with some blood. Great way to start out YouTube videos, with some blood. What brush do I want to use? I absolutely like BS this kind of shit. Some people I think I know how I do certain things like this, and I do not. Just a lot of making it up as I go, but we're gonna do it though. Hello, hello, welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome to the party. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I didn't even give her bags under her eyes. I need to go back and fix that. Well, I'll do that with color, I guess. But first I gotta bruise this lady up. Do I know the science of bruises? No. Do I pretend to? Yes. Could easily learn it. But do I want to? No. I don't have the patience right now. So we're gonna pretend like we know how bruises work. When was the last time I've ever done a traditional hand drawing? I mean, I doodle sometimes, but I've never really done any full, rendering traditional pictures ever. Not unless it was, an assignment for some, class or something like that, you know? I just don't really like traditional art a whole lot. Just not really my thing. I prefer digital. Thank you, thank you. I love drawing facial expressions. Fuck it. We don't need to give her too many bruises. We can pretend like we did. I do, in fact, love facial expressions. The way you draw hair is divine. Well, thank you, Mama Bear. If you don't mind me asking, any beginner tips on digital art? Your art's awesome, by the way. Well, thank you, Bon Quickway. I, I mean, that's always a hard one because, like, it's such a general, like, question, so it's hard for me to know, like, exactly what's gonna help you with certain kinds of things. Um, I mean, the best kind of like recommendations I could give you for like digital art is like just don't be afraid to play around with things and try new stuff. Um, it's just like it's like anything else with drawing, it's just a different kind of medium. So, like, you know, just don't be afraid to try new tools and things like that. Try if you can, save yourself a little money and stuff like that. Try and like don't get an Adobe license, just have Photoshop. You know, there's so many like other free versions of art programs and things like that. So many cheaper options um, out there. And I've heard that Clip Studio Paint's pretty good for computer stuff. I obviously don't use computer stuff for art anymore, but that's just what I hear. But my my best recommendation would really just to be like play around with stuff, try new things, experiment with different brushes and stuff like that. Because you like the nice thing about traditional mediums is that it gives you so many possibilities of things you can do with it without having to spend any extra money. You know, like I sometimes the I'm just realizing, God, I hate it when I go back to a piece of artwork and I realize I've like missed something or I've left something and then I have to fix it. But it's like there's so much stuff you can experiment and play with. A lot of programs come with a lot of really cool tools and things just implemented in. Uh, and it's all just about like playing around, figuring out what kind of like works best for you and the kind of stuff that you like the most. Um, so yeah, my best advice would just to be like, don't be afraid to goof around with some stuff, use some shit for its unintended purpose, and like have fun with it. Um, so I hope that helps in some way. I prefer digital too, but what I would prefer most of all is a combination of both traditional digital and even visual art as well. Yeah, everyone's got preferences. It's all about preference. That's the magic of it. Ooh, my phone fell. I'm reading chat on my phone. I had it up on like on top of my iPad. Boo, 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 doo, doo, doo. Okay. We're gonna do Pansy. I always know that I like put her in fucking like brown, like khaki colored pants or whatever the hell I put her in. Yeah, like that's the exact color I was thinking of. I never have a way to color pick from this, so every year it's just me guessing what colors I used. Ooh, that's gray. Don't do that. That's a little too... I need just a little bit of... well, it can be a little dull, you know? Fits with the mood. For anybody who's new to this, always free to ask me questions and stuff like that during streams. I try to read chat. With drawing, it's a little more difficult because sometimes I get really focused in on what I'm doing, and that'll make me quiet or I won't be paying attention to the chat. But you are always free to ask me random bullshit during streams of anything you want. And I will be happy to ramble if I find something to ramble about. I just don't like. I'm difficult with it because I could this would usually, my streams would probably be more interesting if I could just like pick a topic and just talk about it, which I should probably start doing more. But it's always so difficult because I don't really know what people want to listen to, and that's why I'm like, sometimes I prefer questions just because at least with questions I know that somebody kind of wanted to know my thoughts on something, rather than me just going on a tangent about something unrelated and nobody listening. But, you know, I need to get better at that, though. I need to just start talking about random bullshit. Get this little hair in. What's your favorite art progress? Oh, what's your favorite art progress, such as sketching or lining or coloring? I tend to prefer sketching the most, just because it's the most, like, experimental phase. You just, like, constantly, like, redoing things, whatever. But I also, like, I do really like coloring and shading a lot, too. Just because it's relaxing. But I also personally, I actually have the philosophy that technically it's your artwork. You shouldn't technically hate any process of it. You should try and find, because it's your art and you should enjoy doing your art, you should at least find like some kind of enjoyment out of any part of the progress. It's why with my line art, when I kind of realized how much I didn't like doing it and how exhausting it was, I ended up figuring out playing with a new style, so I actually enjoy doing line art a lot more. So personally, there are things I like about all phases of art now, just for different reasons. Just depends on the mood I am in that day. I really want this to be like, most people like hate like yellowy greens, and I used to too, but I'm like, sometimes they're just some contexts where I feel like that slightly yellowy tinted green just looks a lot nicer to me than just like vibrant forest greens. I feel like yellowy greens just look slightly more natural sometimes. They look more like a natural base as opposed to a something with like a lot of shading and lighting on it already. That's the color of my shirt. I mean, I'm gray. I'm in pajamas right now. You know, something funny, like, know of the art? I mean, it's green? Like, I don't know. I just said it was green. What are you going to be as for Halloween? I'm not really dressing up as anything for Halloween. I just don't really have a reason to at the moment. Like, my school's doing a costume contest, but I don't really have the energy to go like figure out a costume and make one or buy one or whatever. I just kind of like, I don't really care that much right now. I'm way too busy with other things, unfortunately. Plus, where I live, the apartments I'm in don't really do, like, There's no like trick-or-treating or anything like that really, so. At least there wasn't last year. What's funny, it's like I've always put her in every year. I always put her in the green tank top, but I genuinely cannot remember if that was what originally my friend put in their story, was that she was wearing a green tank top or not. I think I remember she did say it was a tank top, which is why I put her in a tank top, but I genuinely do not know if it actually was supposed to be green or not. So, fun fact. Eyeballs, eyeballs, eyeballs. Her eyes were always like blue, so I guess we're going with blue again. What art program do you use? Those brushes look great. I've used Procreate. Oh, I need to coat the match. I was like, what am I forgetting? Other than the blood. And I was like, oh, that's fucking right. She's holding a match. Hey, Zodiac, how long have you been drawing? The technical answer is I've been drawing... That's not how matches are colored. I'm a fucking dumbass. I don't know what I'm doing with my life. I've technically, I've been drawing my entire life, if you want to be technical about it, but I've also... I never really got super, like, serious into drawing until I was in, like, middle school. So, like, 6th grade, so I don't know what's that would be. It would be, like... when I was like, I turned 12 or somewhere in there, so it would be about 8 years, I guess, was when I got serious about drawing. Because for a while I would just doodle, and I was just that kid who really liked to draw. I think in elementary school we used to do these things where we'd do like drawings for each other. I don't know. I think we would all like sit in a circle and we'd all like draw together and draw the same thing. And I was always loved to do those. And I think it was a bit of a try hard. Then middle school, in middle school, I found, I started watching YouTube more and I found speed paints. I got especially obsessed with like River Spirit on YouTube and DeviantArt, and that's how I actually found DeviantArt, was because she's like, oh, here's where the finished pieces are, and I'm like, I want to see the finished pieces. So I went to DeviantArt, I did all that. Because she was making those, I was like, I want to do that too. I want to get famous for drawing warrior cats, and so I started drawing fucking cats. And after a while, I was like, I'm gonna like make other like humans now and all that. I actually got my actual origin on DeviantArt was I joined a Warrior Cats fan group thing, like a role play group, and I love that. The owner ended up, I think it either closed, I think the owner just like kind of disappeared off the platform, unfortunately. They were like my first friend online, but they kind of disappeared, and so I ended up making a group because I had so much fun with it and I wanted to try it myself. So I made a group and I had a small circle of friends there. And ever since, I've just grown and evolved from there. So I got my wee starts on the internet as a fucking Warrior Cats, like, role player. And I still have Warrior Cats. I once did pictures of, like, humanized Warrior Cats not terribly long ago. And I'm so tempted to go back and just, like, start drawing them again. Because I enjoyed that quite a bit. By the way, I recently watched a few of Glorified Tabletop Roleplay live streams, and I'm curious if you plan on continue that. Just curious. Unfortunately, that series has kind of been canceled for many reasons. It had a lot to do with, like, scheduling conflicts and things like that. Now it's, like, there's also some, like, personal reasons behind it. It's just some, like, relationships with the players and stuff like that. But I do honestly want to do more, like, D&D stuff on YouTube and stuff like that now that I actually know how to fucking play D&D and DM and shit. So someday I would love to start doing proper D&D again online and live stream it and record it and stuff like that. Because I think that stuff is so fun and I love that stuff, and and sometimes I like watching tabletop role playing stuff. So someday I may go back and I might do something like it again. But as for specifically a gag terp, that series is done at this point for many different reasons. That's the line art. That's why. Honestly, though, I would love to just, in general, I would love to be a part of, like, an online tabletop roleplay thing again. Not online as in, like, I want to play online. I actually prefer playing in real life anyway. I just mean if somebody ever, like, recorded it, I would be like, hell yeah. Are you going to be reviewing OCs anytime soon? Those were always so fun just to learn from. Unfortunately not. I don't really like recording videos anymore, particularly editing them, and there's many different reasons as to why. But I don't really tend to make and record a lot of videos anymore, unfortunately. And so, unfortunately, there's not that it would include, like, OC reviews and stuff like that I did. Which kind of D&D have you tried? I've been doing Star Wars D&D, Call of Cthulhu, and 5e. I mostly do 5e. That's the kind of stuff that tickles my fancy the most. Plus, I haven't played enough, like, 5e to justify... Like, I haven't played enough of the base game to really justify me branching off into, learning a bunch of other stuff. Because, like, I swear, I have not been able to get, like, a proper campaign to work out all the way yet. Always a lot of different things that end up happening. I once tried to do a Pokemon one that I literally fucking built that whole homebrew. And I'm so salty because... We played a first session. The first session was great. We were about to actually try some combat, but the next session never happened because of COVID. And then after that all happened, it pretty much fizzled out for everyone. So I don't think it's ever going to happen. Session 2 is ever going to happen. So now I just have to sit here with this entire, like, constructed Pokemon D&D and my beautiful, beautiful NPCs that I made. And I have to just wait until I can play it again with somebody else, with some other people. It just sucks. But I would love to play more D&D. That's what I'm trying to do. I actually do have a session on the 30th. Not one that's going up on YouTube or anything like that, but I have one, and it feels very long overdue. I have so many characters too. I just like, I really, it sucks because I like, unfortunately, I like how I DM, and I haven't really met a lot of people that DM in the kind of style that I like to DM in. So it makes it a little difficult to find people to. Plus, a lot of people don't just invite me. They don't just invite me to things, and then I just get sad. Or they invite me to things and they never work, and they never work out. How did you start doing D&D? I've been wanting to try it for a while, but I have no idea how to start. Either you can, like, if your struggling point is learning about the rules of D&D, then my best suggestion is find some people who already are playing it and play with them, because most people who D&D from, like, play D&D from my experience, they're absolutely fine with, like, teaching a new person to play. I certainly have no qualms with, like, teaching new players how to play. A lot of people actually love teaching new players how to play, because there's so much potential. So if that's the case, like, you know, find some friends who are already playing it, ask them if you can join them, whatever, stuff like that. If the struggle point is more that you, like, don't really have anyone to play with, and you don't really, like, know anyone who plays, then my recommendation would be, like, you could always watch, like, there's all sorts of campaigns and stuff online that you can watch, and that way you can actually kind of learn some of the basic general rules from a DM standpoint, so that if you needed to DM for your first time, you could do that. And typically, if you're DMing with new players, nobody knows how to fucking play, so it shouldn't really be that big of a problem. The most issue you would have is that you might have to go look at it, like, look something up, or take a pause because you need to do a lot of math and stuff like that. Because I got started playing because my school actually had D&D that they were doing, and I could finally actually go in person and try it out. And then after that, I was just super into it. My friend also showed me a recommendation if anyone wants some, like, D&D to watch. A friend showed me Dimension 20, which is a YouTube channel on here. And I also do have a Twitch, I think, too. But they do campaigns, and I love a lot of their shit. And by a lot of their shit, I mean I love the way that Brennan Lee Mulligan DMs. He is my absolute inspiration with DMing. And if you ever need a real good example of how the role-playing side and the combat side of, like, D&D and stuff like that, Fantasy High is a good one. Everyone's free to tell me their reaction to episode 2 after they watch it. But yeah, one-shots, I'd say try out some one-shots, because one-shots are basically you do one thing and you'll learn more about it as you go, or do what Zodiac explained. Here's the thing with one-shots, though. One-shots very much depends on the kind of person and player you are, because I don't like one-shots. I don't think I'll play them. It's not like I hate them, but I would much rather have a campaign with story, because the hard thing with one-shots is that typically it's a lot of characters that are unrelated to each other. You aren't going to have some, like, good, like, character plot for the characters. So typically one-shots are better if all the players in the campaign kind of, like, are chill with just, like, getting in a fight and having that be the story. Or just kind of going on, like, doing something small and lighthearted. What are we expecting? Critical Role as an example because they're well known. I know, that's why I didn't give Critical Role, because they're, like, the most famous example. And I think there's other groups out there. I haven't watched a whole lot of D&D. Admittedly, I don't really know a whole lot of, like, D&D channels and groups. Dimension 20 is just one I know very well of. But yeah, it's personally, like, a one-shot's not a bad idea to start, but again, that's one that you probably don't want to run yourself, because, like, you really need to understand how to DM before you can run a one-shot that's actually going to get done in a timely manner and is going to be, like, fun for everybody. It takes a lot of, like, improving and story hooks and things like that, because unlike with a campaign where you take, like, a long time to plan it out and stuff like that, a one-shot, you can't, like, sit down and discuss with all your players, okay, what do I need to do to get your character motivated into this? because you don't really have time to do that. They're supposed to be snappy and able to just do it at the drop of a hat. So it's just, again, and for all I know, you might love doing one-shots, and that's up to you, and that's for something to you to kind of play around with and figure out. So my best suggestion is, if you know anyone who does D&D, or you know like a place where D&D happens, I would go there and start. Most people who play D&D have no problem teaching new players how to play and stuff like that. Absolutely not. And D&D's also a game with rules, but the rules are constantly changing. So truthfully, there's so little about D&D that you follow, especially if you're playing with somebody who's like me. I, as a DM, if I think something's funny, the rules are changing. If something's rule breaking, but it's fucking hilarious, I won't care, and I'll just let it happen, because I just, that's how I play. Most people who play D&D would rather you have fun. There are going to be some people out there who are far more strict about the book. I know I have a friend who has a lot more stories than I do. And I remember she was talking about a time she had a campaign where somebody was playing a dwarf, and they were like, okay, I'm going to get on a horse. And the DM was super adamant about, no, you're a dwarf. You can't get on the horse because you're too short. And it's like, so you're going to have some people like that who are just kind of killjoys. But typically a lot of people who play D&D are just want to have fun. You know what I mean? And it's all about you figuring out what you kind of like and what you want to do. And communication. Communication is the key. Communicating with your players beforehand, figuring out and your DM as well if you're a player, is absolutely key. You don't want, when it comes between your other players, you can have a little bit of mystery as to what's going on with your characters and stuff like that. But with your DM, you want to always communicate with your DM. Your DM should know everything. Don't ever keep secrets from your DM, and if you have players, try and ask them questions and all that kind of stuff. A lot of what draws me to D&D is making and developing characters, so I probably wouldn't like one-shot. You're probably a lot like me then. Because I don't mind one-shots, but also the best one-shot I ever did, I did with I went and I visited some friends for, right before, when did I visit them? I want to say it was August, but it was I went and I visited them, and we hung out and we did a one-shot together. But the difference was, unlike a lot of one-shots that are kind of people just making their characters separately and then just sort of coming in with these very random characters, we sat down, we had this whole joke that all of us, it was me playing with 3 of my friends, and then one of my friends, her husband was the one DMing us. And we... all of us sat down in a voice chat, and we started conspiring about sort of stuff we wanted to do. And we're like, what if we made all the characters siblings? And then we were like, okay, but what if also they're all adopted and they're all wildly different species? So you had this you had a dwarf, you had a kobold, the little dragon things. You had a Goliath, and you had a fucking Luxodon, which is an elephant person. And they were all siblings, and they all were passionately convinced that they were all actually related. And they were all adopted by a little halfling lady, and they were the Fizzlewindles. And it was so much fun. And I think the reason why I had so much fun with that one shot is because I was able to, it felt like there was more character there. But one-shots do take a lot more, role-playing skill, if you like role-playing, to make it interesting. Not that they aren't fun. One-shots are still very fun to me. It just, sometimes, it depends who I'm playing with. And I also, as a DM, I cannot write one-shots for fucking shit. The 2 times I've tried, both of them turned into actual, miniature campaigns, as opposed to, actual D&D, an actual one shot. But yeah, I need to, so I also need to find friends that play D&D, though. There are actually some websites I know that are for finding groups that you can play with online. So I would definitely like look around and stuff like that. And don't be completely terrified about the idea of playing with strangers or finding new friends and stuff like that. So long as like always be mildly cautious because you never know who you're playing with online. But you know, sometimes it's not always a bad thing to make new friends. I've had a mixed bag. Sometimes I've played with people where it's like I fucking love how they play and it's a great experience. And other times I've had some issues with players and stuff like that when I haven't played with someone before. But sometimes I find people where I'm like, man, I would love to play with you again. Because everyone has their own style and stuff like that. And man, do I have some stories. I just worry about telling some of those stories on stream because I don't really know who's watching. What's it like doing commissions? Highs and lows. Sometimes I love doing commissions, but other times it can be a little, when I get art block, it can be stressful. Like right now, I have quite a few commissions I need to work on, but my art has been a little slow going right now. Especially, I think part of it though too is because a lot of people who have been commissioning me have been commissioning for me for like big commissions. It's always like scene commissions or full body commissions, and it's like even though I had to raise my prices because so many people were doing that, and it can be a little bit stressful when that happens because sometimes I would really just like to sketch a headshot. You know what I mean? As opposed to draw like fully color and shade a big scene of these characters that aren't mine and stuff like that, which is not that it's bad. I don't have any problem with it. Don't get the wrong idea. It's just like, you know, when that's the only thing people are commissioning you to do, it can get a little bit exhausting. God, I want to play D&D more so bad. Like part of me is like getting that whim where I'm like, man, why don't I just make another campaign or something and invite some people to it from like my school or something. But then the other part of me is like, no, you have a campaign that's literally happening on Friday. Like, stop getting carried away. Just focus on that one first. It's hard because I'm like, I would love to be invited to campaigns, but people don't typically invite me to campaigns, so I am often resigned to DMing. No, I apologize, Veronica. Unfortunately do not speak Spanish. I apologize. To be honest, like D&D's so weird because it's like, would you ever commission a tattoo? I don't know if you're asking me like would I do a tattoo commission or if I would ever pay someone for a tattoo commission. To the first one, or to the would I buy a tattoo commission? I don't really have tattoos. I don't currently plan on getting a tattoo, so at the moment, don't really know. But as for the other one, I would be absolutely fine if someone commissioned me a tattoo. I just would need to understand what they need me to draw for it. It just, that's definitely not, that kind of stuff is not entirely my forte, so people would just have to be very specific about what they wanted. And be a little patient with me. Yeah, but D&D, what I was saying, it was like, D&D is so weird to me, because normally with things, I'm like, I only ever want good experiences with it. I swear, though, with D&D, I'm like, I don't even care if the experience is completely shitty. It'll give me a fun story I can tell my friends. And it's like, so I just want to play sometimes. I'm like, I don't care if I'm playing a session. Especially, I think part of that, though, too, comes from the fact that, like, I don't think I could play, like, my standards for shit, like, I don't think if I ever have a bad experience, it's probably not because I'm uncomfortable. It's probably going to be because of something, like, stupid. And it's, like, so I think that helps with it, too. My bar for being uncomfortable is, like, very high. That's probably why it's different. Honestly, I'm interested to see your stuff as a DM because I like to see different ways of how DMs will do their thing, but then I get it sucks sometimes because of schedules and etc. But it sounds like pure crackhead energy. It definitely is if you're playing with the right people. But yeah, I've heard I do like to DM. It's just a lot of work, and sometimes I would love to just have one character and be the only thing I focus on. But from what people tell me, at least from what players have told me playing with me, I'd like to think I'm a kind of good DM, I think. At least I think that comes pretty naturally to me. I think I've just always been, like, very very accustomed to, like, storytelling and world building and stuff like that. And I tend to, like, so I'd like to think I'm a decent DM. I try my best, even when I don't know what I'm doing all the time. Though sometimes I would love to be a player, because then I can just focus on my own character and just causing all hell for... Listen, I'm the kind of player who I will either design you a character that you will love and you will cherish them, and the way I roleplay them will make you, like, totally just, like, be attached to them. Like, I had a character in a campaign a friend was having. It's kind of died now, but it was supposed to be a pirate one. And I was playing this warforged bard named Titan, and his whole thing was that he was made to be a giant tank, like, warrior bot, but he was stolen by a pirate and reprogrammed to have, like, free will. And so he's a total softie, but a big key of my role playing. We were in person, I should say, and we were when we were role play, I wouldn't talk so much because Titan is like a baby. He doesn't really have much to say. He doesn't have many opinions on things. So most of the time he would just, like, while people were talking and things were happening, I would just be sitting to the side and, like, I'd slowly tilt my head and put my hand on my chin in thought, and, like, I would just do that, and eventually my friends just started noticing I kept doing that because I was in character. And it was like, I remember I had a friend who just, like, I started doing it and they just started laughing because they kept noticing me do that. And then after a while too, because I was, like, writing down character notes, I would write down, like, notes in character of just the thoughts popping in my head, because when I get in character I get very immersed into it most of the time. Into how, like, trying to imagine how they think and how their inner monologue goes. And with Titan, all I could hear in my mind was him just going, like, just, like, for example, I think we had a whole thing where they were fighting, we were fighting a druid or something, and they're just like, you can't come here and ruin the woods and the tree. And Titan realized, the wood in that tree looks like the wood in my arm. So in his brain, he's like, I'm tree? I'm tree. And so he came up to the conclusion that he is a plant, which is, it's so sad that campaign stopped. But, and it's like, so his brain would constantly be things of just, like, it'd be shit like, water is wet. Milk is wet. Milk is water. And it was just, that was all my notes were. Essentially, it's just a baby learning about the world. And so I can play characters like that, or I'm the player that's going to try and fuck the dragon. There's no in between with me. I'm either going to be a very wholesome, likable character that you are going to just love and hope they never die during your campaign, or I'm going to try and fuck the dragon. There's no in between. It's either goblin energy or wholesome energy. I am either neutral good or chaotic evil. There's no in between. That's the same thing with my DMing, though. My DMing is either I'm either chaotic good and I want you to have a really good story that you're really attached to, but I'm going to make sure everybody has a happy ending, or I'm going to give you the most evil and terrible thing, like the time I wrote a campaign and one of the enemies that you had to fight was a toilet mimic. Because chest mimics are overrated. So I turned a mimic into a toilet. And that was the entire room. That was the only thing you fought in there. It was just a toilet with a gem in it that you needed. And you don't know it's a mimic because obviously you don't know until they become a mimic. So a player might shove their hand in there and get their arm bitten off by a mimic. That's where I've just become a chaotic evil DM. There's nothing else to it. I'm so distracted now, just talking about my D&D stories. Oh yes, listen, my toilet mimic was literally like my magnum opus. I will never create a monster like more amazing than the toilet mimic. And I'm so sad because the thing I wrote that for originally, which I want to run, I should say, that campaign, I want to actually run it for other people at some point. Because it's a very good for, like, I think new players and stuff like that. But I am so sad because that room was ruined because I'm convinced one of my players was salty. They claimed that they weren't and that oh no, it was outside forces, but I kid you not, this person was totally into the role playing. This thing happened and it was perfect. Narratively, it was amazing. And suddenly the player just went dead silent for the rest of the campaign. And I felt bad. So they lost their arm. It was a haunted house. I shouldn't have gave them back their arm, but I gave them back the arm because I felt bad because they suddenly stopped talking for the whole campaign. And afterwards they were saying that sorry, it's family stuff came up. And I'm not convinced because it really did. It was really well timed with at the exact moment that their character got karma served to them. But it was so sad because it was my favorite room in that entire haunted house, this fucking toilet mimic. And I'm so sad because I wanna run it again because toilet mimic deserves better. He deserves better. He deserves to bite somebody's arm off. Yeah, I have some story. I have some great stories of D&D, but I also have some stories that are irritating. Again, it's just I don't know how many of them I can tell. Toilet mimic rates. We love toilet mimic here. Rip toilet mimic. Yeah, I was mad after it happened because my friend noticed it too, and we were talking about it afterwards because I was just really upset because it was literally my favorite room, and it happened in such a beautiful way. It was amazing in a story role playing sense because the character was being all cocky too and almost got somebody else's arm cut off, but because they were tired of their shit, they were like, "No, you do it," and he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, fine, I'll do it," and then his arm got bitten off. And I was like, oh my God, that's amazing. And then it didn't, and then they were just dead silent for the rest of the campaign, and I felt that as a DM. And then afterwards I was like, damn it, I should have just let the arm be dead. I shouldn't have done it. I should have just let them be salty. I want more D&D stories, honestly. Again, that's why I want to play more. I want more D&D. I don't care if they're good, bad, mediocre. I don't care. I just want more D&D stories. I want to live more D&D. Just be warned, though, if you ever play with me, I am the person who wrote a toilet mimic. So, just be warned. I'm a person who both takes this game very seriously, and I take the piss out of it at the same time. I'm the scariest kind of DM. And as the player, as I said, I can either be your angle, or I can try to fuck the dragon. There's no in between. Should also say what's hard is that I tend to, when it comes to me in D&D, I'm not super strict about it if it's somebody else's campaign, but typically when I run campaigns, I usually prefer everybody being over the age of 18, which does make it slightly more difficult, but it's just a matter of the kind of jokes I like making sometimes. I feel weird if there's a minor there. Just some weird experiences that I've had, unfortunately. Now I want to try a game just to be able to tell my own stories. Yeah, I know, it's really fun. I've been bringing the skeleton with a flamethrower. It was a hamburger campaign. Yeah, it's a. I D&D's fun, man. There's something in it for everybody. You just gotta find the right people. It hurts my heart so much when there are people who have tried D&D, but they actually gave it up because their first D&D experience was unfortunately with really shitty people. And it sucks so much because there's so much that those people like miss out on because of just like one or two shitty people, and it makes me sad. It makes me sad people had to ruin it for them. Alright, I think I need to start shading now. Oh, I need to do the flame. That's what I need to do. Anyway, if anyone has more wild questions, feel free. I'm gonna do this flame the same way I did it last year. I probably will. I probably will. Well, maybe not. Maybe I can find a better brush this time that I like more. I've added a lot of brushes, so let me play around with this. Because they have a brush that's called Flames, but I don't like it. It's kind of lame. Ba, 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 ba. Ooh, that's actually a really nice one. You know, I like that one. I swear, every year though, I get somebody who says something about how like the flame on that mat shouldn't be that like powerful and big, and I'm like, I know. Just don't care. I'm here to live my life and have a good time. I have very unrealistically large match flames. Actually, I'm gonna take a pause and I'm gonna check some Discord messages real quick. Anyway, anyone else have any other burning questions for the void? D&D related or anything related? Can be anything. I'm not picky. How many more is there redrawing this before you add more characters and make it a draw the squad? I mean, probably never. I don't really entirely see how this would make a good... I mean, technically, if draw the squads don't even need that many characters. It can be 2 characters. But I also don't really think this one would make a very good one. Typically, draw the squads are better when they're funnier. Why am I not using an airbrush? What the fuck am I doing? What am I doing with my life? Gosh. Not using a fucking airbrush? That's fair. I was just imagining it redone, so one character is sneaking up to spook the guy with the candle, but by that point it's a whole new drawing. Duh. Guess I don't know. I don't know what people want. I'm not hip with the kids anymore. Sorry, I'm quiet. I don't have any idea what to talk about. Not much has been going on right now. Y'all are quiet. Normally my chat is not this quiet. Normally, even if like no one's asking questions, people are just talking with each other. My God, phone, can you stop going to sleep, please? I would like to read my chat. Do you have any more funny D&D stories? I have funny? Let me think. I probably have funny. I have one. Oh god, I know I have funny. It's just been a while. I had one once. I want to say I could talk more about the one shot I did a while back, where we were the Fizzlewindles, who were a bunch of characters. They were a bunch of, for anyone who didn't hear me talk about them before, they were just a bunch of very, very different races, fantasy races, who like were all like adoptive siblings together, and they were all raised by this one like halfling lady, and they were the Fizzlewindles, and I was Boo the Magnificent. Boo Fizzlewindle the Magnificent, and I was a Luxodon wild magic sorcerer, which is one of the most me things that I could probably come up with. So I was an elephant person, and I was a wild magic sorcerer, which means that I have chaotic magic. And so but my whole shtick was that I was like a magician or whatever, and I was always a performer. So, like, I would constantly talk like I was in the third, like, behold is... Oh, yeah, I would start every sentence with, like, behold! And it was just a lot of that. Yeah, it was because we named all our characters something with ooh, so we had Boo, Woo, Sue, and Lou, Fizzlewindle. We were the Fizzlewindles. Which absolutely our DM, my friend's husband, was just like amazed that we could come up with something so awful. But he was, I swear to God though, imagine for a moment. Imagine. You're playing this, you are a goon. You are an animal goon, like in a evil wizard's like as with your boss being this evil wizard, you're guarding his tower, right? And you're a goon. So you've been like some random people, this random elephant dude and this cobalt girl came up. They gave you some like tuna sandwiches. You were like, hell yeah. So now you're like slightly distracted, right? And you don't notice when the giant anthro elephant casts fly on himself and flies over you to the other side of the tower so he can put his sister in there so she could scout around. Because I kid you not, I casted fly on myself, and I rolled for stealth to try and sneak past these distracted guards, and I won. So I flew completely unnoticed over their heads, and it was flawless. As is everything that happens with Boo the Magnificent. There is nothing he does that could not be described as magnificent, such as casting fly on himself. And for context, for anyone who doesn't know like how the elephant people work, they're like 6 to 7 feet tall. They're enormous. I should have noticed the elephant in the room. You're right, though. No, and then I think I had a whole, I had a bunch of, that was so fucking funny. There's, like, a lot of characters I have. Sometimes I make serious characters. Like, I know my first D&D character, I love him, and I'm so sad he's not being used right now, because I don't really just want to use him for any campaign. If I put him in a real campaign, I want it to be with someone I know is gonna give him the story he deserves. But I made my first character, Vervian, and I'm like, he's got this whole serious story. He's got, like, a whole daughter, and he's a single dad, and it's cute. And then, like, his daughter I have as a secondary character, and she's got, like, 2 different story paths she can have in the world and stuff like that. So I have characters like that who I actually take seriously, and I write them as serious, likable characters and things like that. And then you have characters named Murphy. Murphy, my war cleric, who was designed because my school said that DMs are allowed to have this, like, okay, because my school had this rule for DMs that if you have a party that only had 3 people, DMs are allowed to make a like an extra character, a 4th character, and they were allowed to be a war cleric, and the idea was that they are allowed to help the party with combat, but they can't help them with puzzles and stuff like that. Now, technically, the idea for that would be like, okay, so you have to make it where they're a character that can't talk, because the character shouldn't be allowed to help with puzzles. They should only be able to help with fighting and stuff like that. So obviously, character can't talk, right? Right? Not if you're me. If you're me, the character you design for this predicament is you create an old elderly war cleric named Murphy, who's sitting in the tavern and joins the party because they need an extra member. And oh, Murphy, my beautiful Murphy. He's now actually one of my default characters that I use either in one-shots, or if I use it for, like, if I need as a DM to give players an extra party member. Because that was what he was made for. And the reason why is because he's absolutely unhelpful with puzzles. Not because he doesn't talk. Quite the opposite. No. Murphy's issue is that he will talk ad nauseum about things that have nothing to do with the question you asked him. You would ask him, like, hey, Murphy, how do you think we get across this gap? And he will go, yes, the age-old problem of trying to cross a 10-foot gap. You know, once with my old adventuring party, we faced a situation exactly like this, only there were alligators at the bottom. Or were they crocodiles? You know, I don't actually know the technical difference between alligators and crocodiles. I hear it's something with their teeth, but they were really so far away I couldn't tell. You know, I do rather love the science of animals and things like that. There's many very interesting things that one could know. Like, did you know, for example, that alligators and crocodiles are one of the most oldest basically like shit like that, and he will just keep going and going, and it's all 100. That was all complete improv, by the way. This is the kind of shit I do for players. But the whole idea was that if you asked him a question, he would do shit like that. So he was absolutely unhelpful with any kind of puzzle at all, because he can't answer a question. And he's also like the kind of old man who tells you like all his war stories, but they're always like, he's had like 15 different like party members. He always has like a different best friend. It's always like something, all of his stories contradict each other. No one knows how old this man is, because he's like, he just doesn't like, all of his stories are just completely contradictory. And so you have no idea how old this man is. He's a delight, and he's one of my favorite fucking characters I've made. It's so funny. Because again, I think it was more of an intention of just make a character who doesn't talk. You know, easy. No, I had to be the bitch where I'm like, if the party can ask him questions, but he's not going to give them a good answer. Because he's not supposed to help them with puzzles. He's supposed to just be there and exist. And I love him. And I'll stand Grandpa Murphy here. That's a fun story. I had a one-shot with Murphy in it, actually, where he's a Batman in disguise. He transported to a world where he talks nonstop. But they're like in that part, actually, one of the campaigns where one of the one-shots he was in, I had this one-shot because my school had this whole system and whatnot. So I'd run this one-shot with a different group before. And I think honestly, the one thing I do find interesting about one-shots is that you can run the same one-shot with different people, and they'll always if you're a fun DM who lets people roleplay and come up with stupid solutions, like, you will get such fascinating, like, different approaches to different things. So I had this when I was running, and there's this whole bit where you're like, there's these polar bears in your path, and like, you have to defeat the polar bears somehow. And I usually like to have measures. I'm the kind of DM where I'm like, I don't want the only solution to be that you have to kill them, you know? I like having options where you can like befriend them, or you can just try to incapacitate them, or you could distract them, whatever. So I like having parameters set in for stuff like that. So I had these polar bears, and I had a friend who their solution to the polar bears was like, okay, what if I disguise myself as another polar bear? And I was like so confused, and I'm like, are you trying to seduce the polar bears? And they're like, well, I'm just trying to distract them. And then to make it worse, someone else in the group was like, I'm going to play like some sultry like music in the background to make the mood better. And I was like, that made me laugh. So I told them, all right, you get advantage now on seducing the polar bears. And it was like, and it worked too well to where the person was like, oh guys, help me. I need out of this. I've gotten into a situation where you've just made it so the party never wants to ask him for help instead of can't ask him for help. Exactly. Bro, even when I had him in that campaign where he was there with the polar bears, I was like, I literally like looked up the scientific name for polar bears so that if anyone ever asked him anything about polar bears, he would just start saying the like, I think at one point they were stuck too. So I had him call them by the scientific name, and I had him just start rambling off like a bunch of random nonsense facts about polar bears. That's the kind of energy that I like having. Also, I swear, I think my friends, like, from what I know from DMing, I have like the evil DM laugh. So like when something happens, I'll just kind of be like, and anytime I do that, all of my friends immediately know that something's like, oh God, something's about to happen, and they never know whether it's good or bad. It's just my evil laugh, my evil chuckle. God, I want to play more D&D. It also meant if you ever did need to give them a hint, you could. Not that you would, but that you have the option to at least. You are correct. Listen, I'm not somebody who's going to let people struggle and not let them figure it out. I'm always a person who's like, if people are stuck, I'm going to just give them the answer. But, Pyth, there's so many people in my group that play D&D. Just ask some people there. Make your own campaign. I just always got to be weird because with online D&D, I can never just do it simply. I always got to be like, okay, we're doing face cams, everybody. Because unfortunately, I've had some bad experiences with people when I can't see their faces and it makes everything more stressful. See, the hard thing is that if I could, I would just run like 5 million D&D sessions, but I can't because that's just a little bit too much for me. And I would easily join 5 million D&D sessions, but no one ever invites me to them, so what can you do? Especially because, like, I don't like huge parties, but I like decently sized ones. Like, I think my perfect amount is, like, 5 or 6. I don't like playing with 4 people. I don't like playing with, like, 8 people. I prefer, like, 5 or 6 is, like, my perfect numbers. I know. Honestly, I know that feeling, Pyth. I've had so many issues with campaigns that, like, we get them set up and then, like, everyone stops talking and you're just like, okay, I guess this is never... I think the hardest part, though, too, like, from a DM perspective, is it drives me nuts when I tell players, hey, come up with some ideas for your characters. Come talk to me about it so I can actually help you set up the character. Like, tell me what idea you're starting with. And then it get crickets and nobody comes and talks to me about their characters. And then I'm like, well, I don't know what to do because I don't want to write the entire campaign if I don't know what people are playing. Just please communicate, guys. That's the moral of the story. I just want to DM that's excited about their campaign. I am Pyth, but I feel so bad because I can't offer a campaign for you because all the times I do campaigns, they're usually like, I it's irresponsible for me to start another campaign right now when I have one this Friday. But like, I don't know. I might try another one. I just got to figure out one because it's also hard because I have so many campaign ideas. I have a literal folder in my Google Drive that's just random campaign ideas I come up with on a whim, and I write them down for later. And it's so hard though, because some of them I'm like, I'll just do that with anybody. That's fine. I'll just write that for anyone and whatever. But there's other ones where I'm like, man, I really like that idea. I don't want to waste it on people I feel like are going to like ruin it for me. I mean, 17's not so bad, Pyth. Especially if I was playing with, like, completely just new people, because I'm far more censored when I play with new people. For me, it's the scheduling issues. They're just hard to work around, and I've settled on going now. Yeah, I know. I'm so sorry, Sky. I tried really hard to set up that one for you, and then no one ever talked to me, so it never started, and I feel so bad. And so I'm very sorry, Sky. I really wanted that one to work too. And that's what I mean though too, because that idea that I had, it was actually one that I liked a lot. That's one of my best ideas that I have. What am I most flushed? I just realized I've not drawn blood on this bitch. Damn it. I need to go do that. You'll find people, Sky. You will. I hate when people just stop talking. Oh, trust me, I know. I know. As a DM, I definitely know. It's hard on the players, but it's especially hard on the DM because we literally need our players to talk to us, whether it be in DMs or in the actual group itself. Yeah, I know. I know that feeling all too well. I don't even have blood spatter on her damn clothes. I had a D&D group in school, but like so many of the characters were just there to we're just there to do dumb memery, like the stereotype bard shenanigans, and wouldn't pay attention when it was their turn and stuff like that. Yeah, I know that feeling. It was just so frustrating, even though I wanted to DM for them because I had kind of a niche one-shot ideas. I knew I would not be able to handle those players as a DM when I couldn't handle them as fellow players. I know, yeah, I know that feeling very well. Very, very well. Listen, Pyth, if I ever decide to do my haunted house one again and I'm playing with new people, I will gladly invite you to it. Because that's one I do want to do again really, really badly. Because it got ruined for me. Again, I would love to be invited to one. Listen, a literal stranger could invite me to their online D&D session and I would be like, fuck yeah, let's go. Oh my god, oh god. I just want to finish this drawing. Do you ever have issues with giving a random NPC a detailed life story? Sometimes, but sometimes not. It just depends. But usually I have, like, that happens a lot in my just story writing in general, so I just tend to, like, I'm pretty used to it by now to where, like, I just make that character more important. Make the plot have more to do with that character if I do that. I gotta stop letting my phone close. And also, like, part of my struggle though too with D&D is that I just, like, I really want to play in person again, man. It's, for me, it's just so much more fun in person. Lighting, lighting, lighting. You can ignore the, I probably missed an out somewhere, but you can ignore the zodiac. But is 7 Sins of Baby still in the workers on pause? And you can answer, if you've answered it elsewhere, you can ignore it. Unfortunately, 7 Sins and a Baby is probably kind of just gonna be, like, scrapped. I don't really have a lot of, like, passion for it anymore, and I feel like that energy can be better put into different things and stuff like that. The characters I'm probably going to use in other places, and certain parts of the story are probably going to be in other places, but the story itself I don't think I'm going to work on, which sucks because I actually have a lot of pages that were never posted. So I probably will at some point put those pages up somewhere. I just got to figure out how I want to do it, because I do want those pages to be seen by the people who did care about it. And there's some funny stuff in there as well and stuff like that. So the pages I did do have finished up to this point will probably get posted, but I don't, as for the story itself, I don't really have a lot of, I unfortunately do not have a lot of passion for it anymore, so I'm probably gonna move a lot of those characters to other places to where I can give them better love and they can be in something that's a little bit better than Seven Sins of the Baby, better thought out. But listen, Seven Sins of the Baby was useful though, because it showed me that I can actually, in fact, make a comic, at least a little bit. You're not vibing with it anymore? Yeah. It's hard because I don't want to, because I know people like it a lot, and I got, it was nice that people really loved it and supported it despite the low quality and all that. I really appreciate it. But it got just a little bit too big. And I felt like this, and there's a lot of stories in there that I do really like, and I want to tell those stories somewhere, so they will be told somewhere. Particularly like Lusts and Greeds are like the two that were like my absolute favorites. And I want to make sure that somewhere they're there. What do you plan on working on in the near future? Right now I'm working on a lot of concepts with my friend Twisted Disaster. We have this little role play thing we were doing recently that we've thought would make a really fun comic. So we're not anywhere near the comic stage yet, so don't get too excited. But we are currently in phases of like concepting and redesigning and like characters and stuff like that, so we could actually kind of make it a comic together, because we think it would be a real fun one. So that's currently what I'm kind of working on a little bit right now. So you'll hopefully see those at some point. Those on like DeviantArt or Twitter or something like that. Like, you can definitely see the improvement, but the elements of the original drawing will haven't been lost. Well, thank you, Sunflower Boy. That's what I've been trying to do. I always want them to kind of feel like the same character and the same kind of feeling, but always have a different, always feel improved. That's what I've always liked. I personally like when it comes to redesigns and redraws and stuff like that. I always kind of like, I've always kind of liked the idea of reserving the kind of original integrity of something, but making it better, as opposed to like changing things because it makes it better. I think that the best kind of creativity is the kind where instead of changing something because it looks stupid, you find a way to make it look less stupid or make more sense in a realistic way, you know what I mean? But that's just a personal taste. I did wonder if you're tempted to change up everything with this piece, but having redone it so many times. But yeah, knowing how you do OC redesigns, I should have seen this response coming. It's something I admire in those types of commissions you've done. You don't see anything as a bad design trait, like not executed, just not like not executed as well as it could be. Well, thank you, Julie. That's something I've always personally seen, because that's always just sort of a philosophy I've had, and it comes back from like early on in the days when I started doing like Universe stuff, for example. Originally when I made that story, it was very like a young kid and it was a really silly idea and whatnot. But I was like, hell yeah, this is going to be really cool. And then I realized it was a little bit like, yeah, it's kind of weird and like it doesn't really make a lot of sense. And for a moment I was thinking, let's just scrap it and put all the characters in other places. But I had the idea of like, I bet I could actually make this work in a way where I don't even have to put these characters anywhere else. They can stay in this story, but I feel like instead of just like completely throwing the concept away, I can just make it work in a way that's better. And because of that, I think it's just changed my perspective on that kind of stuff. The idea that like there's very few things out there that are bad ideas. It's the execution that really matters about things. Almost anything can be kept sort of in the original way it was meant to be, but just have certain things tweaked and modified to be better. So like, and I've always hated when people take someone's characters, their own like baby that they made, and like that somebody made, and then they're like, oh yes, I've redesigned your character for you and I've made it better now. Because nothing's really better when it comes to character design and art and stuff like that. It's 100% objective most of the time. There's so few things about art that is objective, and that actually can be like calculated as just definitely good or bad. Otherwise it's purely like a preference thing, you know? Something that you might not like, or that you might not like on a character, somebody else might, you know? It's the same reason why I tend to have a bad habit that when I see somebody doing something or designing something that I don't really particularly like, I can't just move on with my day. I have to be like, okay, I'm going to now do my own version of that in the way I want it to be seen. Because like, I can't tell someone, I wish you would do it a different way, because they didn't make it for me. Why do I need to tell them to do it a different way when they didn't make it for me? I can make it myself, and then I do it. And then I fall down a rabbit hole. It's actually the reason why, like, I talked about it earlier. I did, like, warrior cats, like, humanized warrior cats and stuff at one point. And the entire reason I did them, the original reason I did them, was because most warrior cat human designs that I saw online, I didn't really like. They weren't really to my preference. I understood why there are people that like it that way, and I wasn't going to tell them to do it any differently. But I was like, man, I would really like it if they looked like different than that. And so I fucking like, I decided to do it differently, because I was like, I don't like how a lot of humanized warrior cats are like all modernized, and they wear like combat boots and like, you know, and they have tank tops and like hoodies and shit like that. I was like, I want to see them with like wearing leather and wearing armor and stuff like that. I want to see them like actually have weapons and look more look like they don't live in a world of technology. You know what I mean? And so I redesigned them that way because that's how I wanted to see them. And that's how I've always sort of felt with stuff like that, is don't tell other people how they should do it. Do it yourself. Make what you want to see, and you're going to find other people who vibe with that, or you're going to inspire other people to make things that look like that. And that's just how I've always kind of seen the world and how I've always kind of lived. And it goes the same way about like people who make OCs. I don't think that giving your character rainbow hair is inherently wrong. You know what I mean? And like, I don't think that, oh, that's right, you can do the pencil now. Sorry, I'm totally distracted. Okay, but like, I don't think that like it's wrong for, how do I do this? Do I gotta like, but what if I don't want it to be that angle? What if I want it, but how do I, I don't want it to be that angle. I want it to be a different angle. Brush, how do I change this? I don't want it to be that way though. I don't want it to be that motion. Why are you doing this to me? Now I'm distracted. Damn it. Okay, anyway, what the fuck was I saying? It's the same logic I take with other, like, when people make characters and stuff like that. I don't think that, like, having, there's anything wrong with a character, like, how they're designed in most cases. Sometimes there are. Sometimes there are definitely times when, like, someone should not design a character a certain way and stuff like that. But like for objective reasons, like if it's like a bad stereotype or something like that, you know, a style, but that's more of a stylistic problem as opposed to a like genuine character design flaw. But it's like, you know, if a character has rainbow hair, there's nothing wrong with the fact that they have rainbow hair. It just might not be drawn in a way that's good. There's a lot of things that like people thought a long time ago were super fucking cringy to see on a character, but then like a better artist draws it the exact same thing, and it's like, it looks cool because they could draw it in a better way. And that's like the only difference there is. So in my opinion, it's like, there is a little bit with redesigns where I do be like, I'm like, oh, I want them to have this colored, like this specific color, so I'm going to change it to be that way. But then there's other times where I'm just like, I don't want to do, like, I mostly just want to make it something where I just tweak small things and I make it to where it kind of looks like it flows together. For example, like, if I was given a character that had like 10 colors and 5 of those colors were just like slightly different shades of brown, I would probably tweak those colors to where they're just kind of 2 different shades of brown. You know, and like there's or there might be like a character where they have like spiky hair, but the way it was drawn on the original character kind of doesn't make a lot of sense, so I just drew it in a way that makes more like logical sense or something like that. That's really like all I try to do when I go about it. Or maybe a design's like way too complicated, or there's something on there that doesn't really like, you know, where you kind of, your first initial thought is like, what is that supposed to be? So I just tweak it to make it make more sense. And that's how I've always just wanted to, it's just the mindset I've always kind of had with that kind of stuff. And I always try to have. I don't like the idea of, like, that you need to completely change what a character looks like, just because, like, oh, well, I think this looks better. Sure, I think I do, but whoever made that character, like, probably thought the original thing was cooler. You know, like, that's how it is. I think I got that a lot too when I was like, I don't fucking watch My Little Pony, but I remember I saw a speed paint for My Little Pony that was like redesigning My Little Pony characters, and it drove me nuts because I really didn't like it, because there were certain like design choices that they made where I was like, do you know why that character was designed that way? Like, for example, I've seen like more than one person who redesigns like Fluttershy into being a unicorn. I don't fucking watch My Little Pony, but I know for a fact her being a Pegasus is like an important character trait, because she's a Pegasus who can't fly very well. So it's like, there's things like that where I'm like, okay, listen, there's, when a character has like an actual story, there's certain things that like need to be considered in design choices. If you make your character that's intended to be a Pegasus because they can't fly well a unicorn, you've ruined that character's like purpose. You know what I mean? That's not the point. I think you ended up doing something similar in a video where you redesigned a Sonic OC. Like, you changed the way the hair being stripes and a different color of the hair to make more sense. Yeah, that's what I try to do. Like, I did that once. I do remember I did redesign a Sonic OC. I don't remember what exact video that was, but I did do that. That's just how I think things should be. I feel like it should be less about, you know, designing things to be like, oh yeah, I think this is better, and more like just things to help the person who does it. I mean, because sometimes I think people will like ask me to do redesigns not because they like genuinely need help redesigning a character, because they more want to see like what I would do creatively. That's why with my redesign commissions, I usually just have an option like, hey, do you want anything changed? Do you not want anything changed? If not, I'll just have some fun. So my redesign commissions can sometimes be more like slightly more free-willed, a little, if you will, like it just a little bit more creative input from me. But that's because I feel like if somebody's going to commission me for a redesign, it's because they're going to want to see how I would design that character in some way. So I like to have just a little bit of my creative input in there. But if it's like somebody else's character and they just genuinely want to like have the design be improved, I don't want to give them like my subjective opinion on what would make it better. I want to give them more objective opinions on what would make it better. Like what colors they should use to make it look a little more streamlined. What, like, you know, showing them like, hey, maybe instead of using this bright saturated red, try this slightly softer looking red. Try having a gradient in this place. Try having it be this or that, whatever. And it's like redraw commissions. No, redesign commissions are something I have where it's like you give me a character and I will redesign them for you. But like, I what my brain totally just like hit a wall. And my point is that I've just always like felt like people should have, all characters are beautiful and unique, and they should have that respected sometimes. And I think that there is a certain like element of it where it's like, you know, where somebody, because I know I would love to see, I love seeing my characters redesigned by other people sometimes when it's purely for fun, because in a purely fun sense, I would love to see how somebody, because I believe just like how we have art styles, I believe that we also have like character design styles and stuff like that. So I love being able to see how people like would redesign my character, like in a way, in their own kind of style like that. I remember I had somebody a long time ago who just for fun like redesigned my Luniverse characters in their kind of like design style, and I actually like, I love them so much. For two of them I actually like was like, hey, could I like just use these in general, and they were like, sure. And now they are mine. Oh god, how did I do that? What the fuck did I, how the fuck? I need to go back and fix that later. Whoopsies. I don't know how I put that up there. What did I click? Whoops. I guess I'm going to have to fix that later, because I don't know how I did that. I could probably reset it somewhere. Yeah, elements of art and principles of design are different from the subjective opinion. Yeah. Correct. Yeah, I'm gonna have to fix that later. Whoopsies. Okay. No, but I want it to be reset. I don't want it to be on just on the right side. I want to fix it. Help! Oh god. I have to come back to that later. I somewhat saw what I did, but I don't know exactly what I did. Oh well. This is gonna be weird. We're gonna have to do the rest of the stream with that up there, I guess. No, it's not the square in the middle, because the square in the middle is how I pick other colors. The square is what opens my my color picker. It's not what opens my it does not move this. What the fuck did I do? Oh my god. Anyway, I need to actually finish this. I need to make this ghosty girl like fade just a tiny bit. Oh god, it's so weird having it up there. So high up. That glow around the right arm is so heckin' tasty. Thank you. It's something that's been in a lot of the later pieces, and I'm just like, hell yeah. There we go. I like that. Yeah. That's good. That makes her look slightly more ghosty. I also want to like, where's these? Yeah, I want to take these and I want to like, just a little bit. I want to like fade them, blur them. Yeah, that's the shit. My monkey brain can't keep me, neither can I. What else did I do here? I think just some last minute, like, some last second effects just to make the colors pop a little bit more. When you're watching a speed paint, the artist does that thing where it really pulls, that really pulls everything together. Yeah. Savage dogs. Song is stuck in my head. There we go. That's how we get it. That's how we get it looking like the old one. That's where we just start throwing a bunch of fucking colors on it and we're like, hell yeah. Angelica, I actually said some tips for that like at the very beginning of the stream. So if you would like to just rewind to that, there's like literally in the first like 10 minutes, I think somebody asked that same question. Oh, I need to do all my hair strandies. I can't believe I forgot. All of my hair strandies that I do when I fully render things. Could you imagine if I forgot? I say hair strandies, there's like 800 other things I do at this point, but like, just they're like literally on top rendering things, but I like to focus exclusively on the hair strandies. I'm gonna get rid of those because they're like, these are not doing it for me so much. Nope, I don't want to do that. I want to do this. Oh, instead I gotta just like, I don't know. We just need to like go to the top and like actually make these stand out more. Maybe that's the answer. once again, I apologize for my quietness. I just do not have much to talk about at the moment. Now I want to blur some things a little bit, but I don't think I can really do that. I might need to do that afterwards, because if I'm gonna do blurring on the entire picture, I need to duplicate this and merge everything together so I can do perspective blur on everything as opposed to just one layer at a time. But I don't like making that commitment on the main file because if I fuck it up, then I fuck up the entire picture. I think that's good. The only thing I want to do is I want to make sure the lines on the ghost stick out just a teensy bit more. There we go. Okay, that's much better. I think that's enough for me to say it's done. I'm probably going to go in and do some editings off stream, but I think in terms of the actual stream, I think I'm going to call this done. So thank you all for coming. I very much appreciate it. This will be the last stream I do of this one, but I will hopefully stream more.